We call him God.
Oh,
He
Austin.
can just speak to the ceiling and he'll respond or answer.
Are you talking about Bradley? Are you talking about Bradley?
No, Austin, because I just speak and then Austin does stuff for me.
Excuse me, Bradley, you're in the way. I can't see anything. I'm just kidding. You're good.
He is my Alexa. Did you hear that, Austin?
Oh my gosh, that would be a funny TikTok video.
That would be.
Wait, what'd you say?
You're my mini Alexa.
Alexa, I like that. And it,
Austin.
Yeah.
Tell
I'm
me a
only
joke.
2 syllables.
Hey, Austin, tell me a bedtime story. I love, have you guys done that with Alexa? It's the craziest thing ever. You have to turn it on, but it's awesome.
I just
Yeah.
did the joke one, and it was like, and it like asked me to ask the joke, so I did. It was like,
Yeah.
why did the lion cross the road? And Alexa's like, to get to the other pride. I like when she fake laughs, so she's like, ha ha ha.
What makes it a dad
Never
joke?
mind, I'll finish this.
Oh,
No,
okay.
This is getting recorded. I don't want to.
We can cut it out.
We'll remind him now.
Okay, everybody knows Bradley, right? Does anyone not know Bradley? Do you know Bradley? Yeah? Anybody online, do you know Bradley or not know Bradley?
Some people in the-
I do not.
Okay, Bradley started with us last year. You started in January, didn't you?
Yeah,
And
January of 20, no.
no, it was 2020.
Yes.
Started in January, just started getting going, and then what happened?
And then
COVID, we got shut down. So Bradley Bradley graduated in his first year. He's killing it. He's, everyone, if you talk to them, they see him as he's gonna be another Mark Fox, maybe bigger. He's got a lot of potential. I
Oh,
know.
wow.
Like, do you talk to a lot of us that we see him in here, right? Peter Clark was just talking about you yesterday too. And but it's also good to hear from someone who just came out of this and started during COVID, right? So to give you guys an idea of what it takes to be successful, and I'm hoping you say all the right words. If not, I'll kick you. But okay.
Well,
So here's Bradley.
appreciate the good words. Yeah, give it up for telling me that. So I guess, yeah, I started in COVID and I didn't really start with any type of database or any base of people really to sell to. So my business has pretty much entirely been created off lead generation and open houses. And open houses were honestly pretty much have been my primary source of getting clients for the last few years and just developing just basically the systems and the techniques to be able to identify people who are looking to buy or sell. I do primarily buys right now, then converting them into clients. And in the beginning, I know it's really frustrating because you're meeting people and kind of bridging the gap between meeting people who you know are going to end up buying and actually establishing the connection where you can turn them into a buyer, to a seller, and walking that in can be really frustrating. So I'd say kind of my biggest thing is consistency. If you establish habits where you know, as long as you do the correct things, basically, that you're going to get a certain amount of business, I think that's really what it comes down to. For me, that's been knowing that if I do 2 to 4 open houses a weekend, even though it sounds like a lot, if you do that every weekend, you're going to make a certain amount of money pretty much every month because a certain amount of business will come from that. And the more open houses you do, the better you get at doing open houses and being able to convert people. And the interpersonal skills of dealing with people in open houses get stronger in kind of the sales techniques. Some people have businesses that are a little bit more friend-based or kind of their base of people around them, their environment-based. My business is not environment-based at all. I moved to the west side originally from the east side, from Troutdale, to a bunch of people that I didn't know. And I've only ever sold to probably 2 or 3 people that I know from my base. And that's increasing now because I'm starting kind of nurturing that. But in the beginning, it was just basically a fresh set of people. And so that means, in my opinion, that your ability to actually sell to people has to be increased by quite a bit because you're not really selling people houses, you're just selling people trust. Because if they trust you and they like you then they are gonna work with you. So first, you need to make sure you're connected with as many people as possible, whether that's online leads for you, in person, referrals from other agents, just pretty much any way that you can get in front of people, events. In my opinion, I'm a huge fan of open houses because they're free and they just take your time, and you're getting in the market, you're feeling what houses are out there, what they're selling for, what type of buyers are out there, and kind of where they're coming for. And it just kind of immerses you into the market. So I'm a huge fan of open houses. I've done pretty much all of the different platforms that are out there. There's definitely a way to develop business from those. Some of the teams do those platforms really well, like the Fox team, great at converting online leads. I like Obsidian a lot, and Obsidian is kind of a mix because you're getting online leads, but they're warm when they come to you. So they're already seeking out real estate advice or real estate help instead of you seeking out people first. So that's kind of a mix. In general, I'm not a huge fan of online leads. No offense, Tanya,
No.
I'm not a huge fan
No.
of doing advertisements anymore either, unless you're just trying to build brand awareness.
Yeah,
Because
marketing.
that
We talked about that
establishes
yesterday, right, you
trust.
guys?
Yeah, I'd say.
Utilizing it as a marketing source instead.
Yeah, I think it definitely establishes trust more so than other things, because I think the longer that you're in the market and the more that you're pushing out content, the more people trust you, because it gets really weird. I've been recognized more times than I thought I would from social media. And that's where I've been pushing my business recently, or been trying to, is getting consistent on posting on social media, because I see that as more of a long-term investment, because you're building up your client base in as an environment around you. And you're able to connect with them in an organic way, and they see you in the market. They think about real estate when they see you in the real estate game. But I think the biggest thing about creating like a social media account that is interactive and useful and not annoying is giving to people and giving them entertainment and not trying to sell to people. Because we all see realtors and all they post is just sold or just listed, and people aren't on there to see Zillow. If they wanted to see Zillow, they'd go to Zillow. People want to see what you do, and people are interested in other people's lives. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I follow a few different accounts of just random trades because I saw them pop up, and I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, this guy lays bricks and he literally films himself doing brick projects in different patterns, and it's interesting, and other people find it interesting. People think that same thing about our industry. And even though we feel like it's normal to be in our industry, people who aren't in our industry don't feel that way, and they don't know what goes on in the industry. So for me, going forward, social media is huge, but currently just focusing on consistent outreach to people and making connections is really what I've been focused on. And if you guys want to hear more about how I do an open house or what I say to people, I'd be happy.
That was the question I was going to ask, because obviously you're doing a lot of open houses. And so what are the kind of discussions that you're having? Besides just kind of the generic questions, are you working with a realtor? You know, what is leading you to convert those discussions into more of a relationship where you're selling or you're helping to buy a house?
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'd say kind of the first thing to always be aware of when people are coming into the open house is if they've been looking for more than like a couple of weeks and they've been to other open houses, then they're already expecting you to come at them, and possibly kind of aggressively, because some realtors are pretty pushy and they're inviting people. And remember that they're there to see the house and not to see you. So unless they see you as an added value to their life, then they're just going to ignore you. And this is kind of a side tangent, but I never really give people cards anymore unless it's a last ditch effort, because I've probably given out 200 cards and I've never gotten a single call based on a card that I give to somebody in the open house, because I think pretty much always they immediately throw it away. If they're interested in working with you and you haven't reached out to them, they'll probably tell you at the open house. But as far as what I actually say to get people to work with me and to convert people is, in the beginning, I try to add value to their life somehow. So let's say somebody walks in and it's a $600,000 house in Tiger, and they're kind of checking it out. I'll ask them what they think about it, what they like, don't like. Are you guys from the area? Is this kind of what you've been looking at? Try to figure out their situation, and just be friendly. Don't be super pushy. I leave the agent question out pretty much until the end, unless they volunteer the information, but just trying to establish conversation about what they're looking for. What's your experience been in the market? Have you made any offers? Like kind of just pushing those type of questions and just keeping it light. And then usually I kind of ask only a couple questions in the beginning, leave them alone for a while to chat amongst themselves, walk around, and then I reconnect, and that's when I dig in a little bit more. And you're able to ask them kind of that question, what do you think? And hey, I know of some other good listings, and I'm in an office with real estate agents who do a ton of business. So honestly, sometimes I know about listings before they're even gonna hit the market. And when the market's this competitive, that can be a huge advantage. So just kind of going over stuff like that. But then ultimately, kind of the big punch, and I learned this from another agent shadowing him in open, is if somebody's in the house and I want to connect with them, literally I'll just be like, hey, I know some good listings that are going to be coming up, or I can send you some good ones. Why don't you put your name and your phone number in my phone and I'll text you?
Yeah.
Because that way, social pressure, they're probably gonna do it.
Yeah.
If they don't, it's gonna be really awkward. And then just shoot them a text, and that way you get the right phone number too, because it's even more awkward if you text them in the house and it's the wrong number. Yeah, so I'd say that's honestly the best trick that I've heard to really connect. Yeah, no.
I love that you said that, and I love that you're essentially asking for what you want. I do the same, kind of try not to really let them leave without at least asking.
Yeah.
Right, and that can feel awkward at first, the more you do it, the more you feel more comfortable with it, but just don't be afraid to ask for what you want. And Bradley's just such a good example of being able to build rapport with someone when they come in the door, and it really does feel like rapport, like they're just welcome, and he's there to just be a wealth of knowledge for them. And also, what I would say is be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't be Bradley, don't be yourself. That's the main thing. If you set the intention and you're authentic and you're building rapport with people, that energy will be received, and I think the right people will be attracted to it. So I'd say just honestly be yourself. Don't be so afraid to have the right thing to say. Just be welcoming and be excited that they're there, and be yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that goes back to like people want to be around people who want to be around them. So if you seem like you're miserable in the open house and you don't want to be there, and you're sitting in the corner on your phone, you're just wasting your time. And there's no way you're going to get any business from it, because you were the one who walked into the house and be like, oh, this guy doesn't really want to. Yeah. But on the other side of it, people want to work with people who are winning, and people don't want to make winners. So when you
Making the microphone closer to you.
matter how much business. It
You have
doesn't,
too soft of a voice, sir.
it's because I lost my voice, but it doesn't matter how much business you've sold, because nobody's going to know when they walk into the open house. So when they walk in, you're an agent that's selling a ton of real estate every month, and you're killing it, and you're super busy, because people want to work with people who are busy. They don't want to feel like they're your only client and like all your time is dedicated to them. Honestly, this sounds kind of bad, but if you have to take a phone call while they're there, you can say, hey, excuse me, I need to take this call. One of my clients is talking to me, and they'll wait because it means that you're busy. Like, honestly, it's weird, but it's huge. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of my feeling on open houses and how to communicate with people. And yeah, just be nice.
Do you have people sign in or do you not?
I never have people sign in, because usually they lie anyway.
Yeah.
If they don't want to be talked to. And some of the people that you're going to be able to convert are people who normally wouldn't give their information on those sheets, but because you're going about it a different way, you can kind of capitalize on that. And as far as picking open houses, the best open houses are always the newest open houses. Even if they're overpriced, you're still going to get people through, unless they're like crazy overpriced.
But
then,
take anyone you can get,
yeah, any open house is better than no open houses, because sometimes you just get lucky.
like Brian. You did one of Bodles that had been on for a long time, and you had a killer open house,
Yeah, that's killer.
right?
Yeah.
And too, let me tell you guys something. When we're lucky and blessed that our agents here in the office are providing open houses for you guys to host. Like, you don't get that anywhere else. So when you go and you ask if they have an open house that you can host, and they tell you, well, I have this listing,
and you're like, well, it's not where I want to go, or, well, how long has it been on the market? It's been on 2 weeks. Oh, I don't want that one. They're not going to call you again. They're not going to ask you to host. Their thoughts and their processes, you're lucky we're providing this to you. And if you really want to do an open house, you'll take it. So the way we have it set up now is they come to me if they don't have someone, but Bradley goes and contacts all those people ahead of time because he knows, and he's not the only one, right? You all can do this. Find out who has them, contact them. But when they don't have anybody to do an open house, they'll come to me, and then that's when I share it in the Slack to you guys, right? So sometimes I might not get one till Thursday because they don't have anybody yet, right? You guys, if you're proactive and you really want one, they're planning this on Monday or Tuesday in their meetings. What homes are going to be open this weekend? Who's doing them? Do we have any left? Give them to Tanya, right? So, but if you guys are contacting them on Monday or Tuesday, or I've taught some of you guys, go into MLS and do an advanced search by the selling broker code, office code, KWPP01. It'll show you every listing in our office. There they are. Look at all the active ones and then go and ask and get them
And I
before
would
Bradley
even-
does.
And I would even further that by saying like build rapport with those.
Absolutely.
agents, not just ask them anything, like let them see that you're bringing value to them. And then guess what? They'll actually start calling you first and say, hey, I have a new listing coming up. I really liked
Yep.
the way that open house went, or I just really trust the way that you handled that.
Yep.
And I got really good feedback from my sellers, from my clients, and then they'll start coming to you. So I would say work on building rapport with the agents in the office, and it really will pay off. And I've even gotten deals from that where they were out of town, and then I end up paying a referral fee, and it's, and then honestly, just every activity begets activity. That's what I noticed. Cause I was doing a bunch of showings and I was driving all over the place, and, but then it just started, then I started getting more and more from that. So I would highly encourage that.
And
Yeah.
listing agents want to know, A1, that you're going to show up and be professional and do a good job, but showing up is honestly the #1 thing because
Get on time or
Early.
turn on all the lights.
Yeah, number
Do
one
a good
rule, you
job.
guys, 30 minutes before your open house, drive the neighborhood, find out where the school is, find out where the closest park is, the elementary school, right? And the closest park, and know what you're selling. Get in there, turn the lights on, make sure that it's clean, tidy. If there's anything, if it's got people living in there, if there's anything that needs to be put away, right? Kind of check it out and get to know the lay of it. And then you're not like rushed, you don't have people, because people will be waiting. If you get there 5 minutes
Actually,
before,
they'll come early.
yeah, so, and then just, I'll be open in a few minutes. I just need to, and then let them in when you're done. So when you walk in, lock the door so they can't just walk in.
And if you have a group of people and you're starting to get a line at the open house because it's a really good open house, even if you don't care about the COVID stuff, feel free to have people wait in line outside. Because trying to make a connection when you have 4 or 5 groups in a house is way more difficult than when you have 1 or 2. 1 or
Well,
2
even
is
if you don't
perfect.
care, somebody looking at the house might care.
They will,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best things that came from it, is now we can limit to how many people can come in and limit those conversations.
Well, not only that, but then like you might get more drive-bys, because like,
Right.
man, that must be.
Whoa,
Why is
yeah.
everyone outside?
Look at that line.
Yeah.
So one more thing to kind of transition into is, I think, just kind of an additional way to make money when you're a brand new agent is honestly just helping other agents and providing value. If you're in the office and you're meeting other agents and you're doing their open houses and they know that you're in the market and like you're going for it, then you can ask people like, hey, if you ever have a lead that you just don't want to deal with, who called in on one of your listings, like send it to me. I'll give you a good referral fee and I'll make it easy for you. Because then that might be free money for them, because maybe they don't even have the time to follow up on a lead. And hey, for you, that's like $5,000 or $8,000. Even if you pay like a good size referral fee. Because last year I probably did 4 or 5 like pretty good size splits on houses that were just direct leads from other agents.
Wow.
Because if they're doing a ton of business, a lot of agents aren't going to want to deal with a $300,000 or $400,000 lead.
Yeah.
It's basically just a layup. Yeah, but what are you guys' questions?
I've got one about with one thing I've been slightly intimidated about with certain agents is sign-ins for open houses, and you said you don't do that.
Yeah,
I feel like every agent I've had has been like very strict on like, make sure you get everybody signed in.
Well, right now it's kind of a different atmosphere too, like, because of COVID, technically we're supposed to require it in case.
Yeah,
there's
cases
exposure.
and
You're
exposure.
supposed to be able to call anybody that came to that house, so that might be part of the legalities of it.
Yeah.
But I'm like with Bradley, pre-COVID, I never had a sign-in sheet, because I was trying to get engagement other ways.
yeah, so if an agent specifically requires me to have a sign-in sheet, I'll of course do it because it's their listing and I want to be respectful of what they want their open house to feel like. But unless they specifically require it, there's no way that I'm doing a sign-in sheet anymore.
You do like I know you do a lot for Linda, so when you do hers, you do sign-in sheets.
You do everything Linda tells you to
Someone
do.
who has very strict rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I love like hers too, but.
yeah, and if you do follow our rules, it does help with business. Like the rules are kind of there for a reason. I mean, if you're door knocking, what is it, 25 houses?
I wrote the list.
Yeah, beforehand, I mean, you're probably gonna get business eventually from it. I
Yeah,
mean, just doing as much as you can.
she's done the same thing
consistently.
for years
Yeah,
and it works.
But also kind of picture like Jenny Hill kind of runs hers as events,
uh-huh.
like a party,
Mhm.
right? Like, you're welcome, like, come in, like, we wouldn't, I mean, everyone's different and like, absolutely no right or wrong. But I just feel like, I don't know, and however maybe you would feel more comfortable signing it, maybe that's gonna be
Probably
your
not.
thing, okay.
That's why I've been there for it.
Yeah,
Do it.
so it's like, just that welcoming piece, it kind of turns a little bit more just, private, capture your information. It's not really about like, we're so glad you're here to see this house. It's like,
We need
will you
you.
also client? And so it just, I think anytime we can sort of not have that be the tone set walking in, so it doesn't feel so salesy, I don't know, that's just my, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like.
Or if you do have a sign-in sheet, make it more about the house and not their information. So like I have one that I provide for people that host open houses for me for my listings and say, and I tell them, if you wanna go after this, like sign-in sheet, go for it. But if they could at least get feedback on the house, because that helps the clients. It also helps you have tough conversations with clients that don't believe their house smells like litter box. But if 22 strangers say the litter box smell is a little bit harsh, I can be like, oh, here's all the feedback without being a bad guy about the open house, so then we can do something about it. But it's an easier conversation to have, like, thanks so much for popping by. If you don't mind just putting a sentence two down about what you think of the price or the neighborhood or anything about the house, would really help us. Most people are happy to give their opinion quickly. And sometimes they'll put down their contact info, sometimes they don't.
Mikhail?
So a question, like, do you like make it clear that you're not the listing agent when you're posting?
You have to.
Okay, good, cause like,
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing, cause people like will like fully like
It's the nerd thing.
ignore you, won't tell you anything.
So
They're buyers.
I don't
Yes.
directly tell people in the very beginning, like if somebody walks through the door, I'm not gonna say, hi, I'm Bradley, I'm not the listing agent. But
no,
I'm gonna say, hi, my name's Bradley.
I just.
Let me show you around. And then when they start asking about it, I say, I work with the listing agent.
yeah.
But I'm not.
If you're doing any kind of social media or flyers or
Oh,
anything,
yeah.
you absolutely have to have the listing agent on it. It is not your listing. You can say that you are hosting.
Yeah, if you're
Okay.
posting anything, I always just put listed by yada, 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 and Kelly Williams both.
Just like if anything you share, you have to say courtesy of, right? If you look at websites, any website, your website, you go on any picture, any listing, it says courtesy of, and it puts the listing agent, what office they're with, right? You have to have that.
So the only thing though that I feel like is kind of a gray area right now with social media and making sure you're giving proper credit, you could say, is if you're posting stuff on your stories. Because for me, Instagram stories is probably my favorite mode of communication with people because I feel like it's really engaging. And it's really, it feels weird to put listed by yada, yada. So personally, I don't do that, but I make it clear in the video that it's not my listing. And if somebody asks me about it, then I can tell them, hey, it's listed by.
And I remember you like reached out about them, like asking for stuff, videos and stuff like that. Do you do your own open houses for your listings?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I'm kind of either way. I'm fine with dual siding a transaction because I'm willing to take that risk for $10,000.
There's no risk if you do it right.
Well, I mean, there's always still a risk. I mean, you can have crazy people, but
Yes, you can.
yeah. What else are you guys thinking?
Anybody online?
Sweet. Well, I think that's everything.
Wow.
Bradley's like, talk about your, like, things that you do to add value, like your deal of the day, things like that, that just kind of make people start to remember you or maybe look forward to that. Maybe you can speak a little bit to that, 'cause I think that's really.
So I really like to post entertaining things. So if any of you follow me on Instagram, I've tried to do the deal of the day. Still working on the consistency aspect of that. But like if I'm in an open, if I'm showing a house, I'll be like, hey, guys, check out this house really quick, walk them through parts of it that are cool, kind of be like, it's listed for blah, 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 just because people are curious how much houses cost in different areas. And if there's something really ugly in the house, film it. If there's something really cool in the house, film it. Scary, film it. Pretty much anything. Yeah, people are just curious to see what we do. And people are curious to see what your life is like too. I mean, I feel really weird about posting like personal things on social media, but you kind of just have to make yourself do it. And it's all about consistency and adding value to people's life. And my favorite way to do it is through adding value. And sometimes I'll do like real estate knowledge type of things, like this is how you should do investing. And if you put this much money down and you get an average appreciation plus inflation, you'll get a return like this possibly. But you kind of have to have a base of people who are going to be interested in that. And a certain amount of people will, but not everybody. So I think it's just basically just pushing content out. And right now, the best platform to push content out is actually LinkedIn, which is really weird. But LinkedIn doesn't have enough content to push out to their followers, I guess you could say, or their users. So your organic reach on any content that you put on LinkedIn is going to be a lot more. It's like the old days of Facebook. Instagram's fine. Facebook's fine. I mean, it's going to be better than nothing. I like Instagram better than all the others, and I'm terrible at Facebook. So Instagram's
It's easy,
pretty
yeah.
good too. Yeah.
I would say LinkedIn too, like most of the people seeing your content on LinkedIn are professionals that have money.
That have
money. And-
So like, they're like true clients.
And getting
Yeah.
a LinkedIn premium account, you can see who's stalking your
That's
profile.
right,
Like,
yeah,
it literally says which profiles have viewed you,
yeah.
and usually it's going to be Nipe Realty, but sometimes it's a client.
Well, and you guys are all gonna get marketed and hit on, recruited from every single real estate office. It's what we do, right? We want agents, but we want good agents here, so.
Bradley, can you talk a little bit about like that tricky spot when you're a newer agent and you're doing the habits and activities and you're not converting yet and you're feeling whatever that word is, frustrated or maybe a little discouraged. Can you talk about that and how you were able to shift your mindset and keep doing what you needed to do and then what resulted in that?
Yeah, so I'd kind of say based on that is in the beginning, it is really frustrating because you're going to have opportunities come your way that you've made and they're not going to end up panning out. And you put a lot of, I guess, faith into certain opportunities that'll come together. Like, let's say you meet a buyer and you think they're a potential buyer and you're like, I really need to get this sale together. Like I need to make some money, get some stuff rolling. But honestly, all you need to focus on is getting as many possibilities going as possible. And it sounds weird, but you just kind of just need to get lucky enough amount of times, because you know that if you do the consistent amount of things, when an opportunity comes, you'll be prepared. Like if you go to every open house knowing that you're ready to put a deal together, eventually somebody's going to go into the open house and they're going to want to buy the house that you're in. Like done multiple deals of just selling people the house that I was holding open. And those are the easiest deals ever. And if you do enough open houses, you will get to those.
So you're saying it's kind of, at some point it becomes statistics.
Yeah.
That when you start to get discouraged, remember
Yeah.
that there's a conversion rate.
Yep.
Okay.
You don't make money from the one person who you think is going to buy with you. You make money from doing the consistent things every week. And if you're not doing them, you're not going to make money. But if you do them, you can count on them making money. But
And
you
know
actually,
that those growing pains exist, so hang in there.
Uh-huh.
We've gone, it's not like you don't stop going through it, but we've all gone through this, particularly in the beginning, where you're doing everything that you're being told to do,
Yeah.
you're being taught, and you're doing it, and you're like,
yeah. So just keep doing it and know that the first 6 months suck. Yeah, but that's a good
It's
thing
so
too.
true.
Because the barrier to entry into real estate isn't getting your license super easy. It's making money and getting sales done. So just keep at it, honestly. Just like keep rolling, don't lose faith, and do the daily tasks and the weekly tasks that it takes to convert people. And honestly, just even when you think you've lost somebody or maybe a client's dropped off, just check in with them every now and then, because everybody's probably going to buy a house eventually. I mean, some people will rent forever, but a lot of people are going to buy someday. So
Somebody told me, which I think is true, because I would kind of get kind of like, not my feelings hurt, but like, they would just ghost me. And I was like having all this conversation, and I'd be like, "Aw."
It was so
And
good.
so, but someone said, you're thinking about them way more than I'm thinking about you. And then sure enough, they were paying you back, and it's been however long, and you're like, oh, so just don't take it personally, and they are not thinking about you like you're thinking about them.
and people can sense if you're super needy
Like
too.
desperate.
So yeah, if you're desperate, people can
Yep.
sense it. So just don't act desperate. Don't act like you need it, even if you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, and maybe don't make it about the transaction. If it's just about them.
It's never
and
about it.
truly the
Yeah.
intention is caring and providing service and awesome customer care, then whatever happens, happens, right? And that seems to attract more
Yep.
than being hyper focused on, and we all do it though, because there's a reality too, so.
Yeah.
You go with all the paperwork then to sign, to like, do you have it printed or do you do it on your computer if somebody came into an open house and wanted to buy that?
I would do it on my computer. Yep, I've thought about the printed route, but the issue with that is then you have to go back to the office to scan. So I'd way more be happier either having them sign off my computer or emailing it directly to their phone
Yep.
through DocuSign. But usually, I mean, it's gonna take a few hours anyway. Usually they're
You need to
home.
get a hotspot. Yeah, like every time I open the house, my computer just cracks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just grab their information and tell them that you're, and then run to someplace at Starbucks or something, right? And grab some Wi-Fi. Tell them I'll get this out to you in about an hour, 2 hours, right? Because I got drive time, whatever. But get all the information, that pertinent information, or that sheet that I created that has all those questions. All those questions on that sheet goes right through the sales agreement. Every single information you need to write an offer is on that sheet. So just have that, right? And then write everything down. I'll get it to you in about an hour to 2 hours. You'll get an email from DocuSign.
and if you have questions about any part of the real estate transaction or putting an offer together or what to do next, or any questions, honestly, pretty much every agent in here, I think, is willing to take a call at pretty much any time and help you out. Just like new agents, including even myself at points, or will help other agents out, like older agents and more experienced agents, by doing their open houses and by helping out on deals or running an errand for $50 or something like that. Older agents are willing to help younger agents too. And and
Not in
even-
years older.
yeah, more experience. Yeah, but like for instance, if you guys want to call me
Seasoned.
anytime, I'm happy to help out on anything, pretty much anytime, because I think that if you just provide value to everybody that you interact with, at the end of the day, it ends up being beneficial for you and them.
Just remember though, any transaction questions, you have to ask Kelly first on the record hotline and then Tanya.
I was gonna ask
Technically,
you.
you're not allowed to go to anybody that's not a principal broker.
About the open houses, is I've had this happen, just in terms of building rapport with the listing agent, is that I've had it happen where for whatever reason, the seller didn't want the listing agent to do both sides of the transaction.
Yes.
And they become aware of a buyer, and they're like, do you wanna write the offer? And you're like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, no, I know, it's like, but I mean, that's happened because for whatever reason, every now and again, the seller's like, don't feel comfortable, even the agent doesn't feel comfortable. So again, building that rapport with them, and if they really like you and trust you, it can really pay off.
I was gonna say, yeah, when I first started out too, and I was doing a ton of open houses, I used my social media as a way to try and get other agents to work with me. So I would offer to do you mind if I make a Facebook event out of this? And I'll tag you in it. Do you mind if I put dollars behind it? Who's gonna say, no, you can't promote my listing for free?
Don't spend your money on my listing.
Right, yeah. And only one time have I ever had an agent that was uncomfortable with that. But I always put like posted by, listed by, all that stuff. But then also I always send out thank you cards, like, thank you for letting me host your open house. But now that I have people doing it for me when I'm too busy or whatever, I send, thank you for hosting that open house. It's just that rapport and respect of everyone's time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to go.
Oh, see, Melanie,
That was
thanks for
awesome, Bradley.
dropping
Thank
through.
you for
I
always.
appreciate it.
Melanie, thank you for dragging questions and answers out.
Oh, Bradley's amazing, you guys,
Oh,
honestly.
no, I appreciate you.
What was your niche at the coast? I see you go to the coast all the time.
Yeah, so that was, I actually tried to kind of end up pushing away from that a little bit just because it wore me down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting a lot of deals from Op City to go down to the coast. And then once I was doing some deals down there, it kind of opened up some stuff for me down there. Honestly, dealing with the coast is a little bit of a different animal because realtors down there are not extremely happy to be working with an agent from Portland. And people want to feel like you're a local and like you know their local market, even if you're not a local and you do know their market. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting kind
Well,
of
no,
experience.
and then also like home inspections are totally different at the coast, and like everything is just, it's a lot slower too, like in Portland, it's like 10 days, this, and when you get to the coast, they're like, maybe in 3 weeks, we'll do a home inspection, and you're like, what? No, I need to know, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah, getting services on the coast is extremely difficult for any service that you're going to get, whether it's resetting locks or getting an inspection. She's right. Everything takes so much time. And it's a pain.
You also have a separate MLS. Were you dealing with them
So
month down there?
you can do the Flex MLS down there, but what the realtors down there don't talk about is that the majority of all listings and realtors are part of the MLS on the coast. So it's kind of, even though it's a Flex MLS zone for most of the coast, it doesn't really matter that much. If you see one and it's not on the MLS, just find their contact information from their brokerage website, because they'll usually have the listing on the brokerage website like Remax or Century 21. You just call them up and ask them to send you over the Flex MLS listing on email because they'll be fine too.
Well, and most of them also don't even use RMLS lock boxes, almost all of them use contractor lock boxes. So like you also just ask for a code. Willamette Valley is kind of that too, like the Willamette Valley MLS, like a lot of them are only in Willamette Valley, but a ton of Portland people go to Salem. So they'll all have contractor boxes.
And the WVMLS is a pretty good MLS to have because it's pretty cheap. It's like $25 a month or something like that. So if you're doing business in Salem, it's probably worth getting. But yeah, I'd say one of the
Or down in Yamhill County, right? You go down.
one of
You
the
go down there.
one of the other things too that just to kind of touch on a little bit is client control. Because when you're a new agent, you almost like you follow the clients a little bit more. And I think as you get more experience, you start leading clients more. And although you don't want to, there's an illegal term where you're basically pushing people into getting certain houses. Yeah, you don't want to steer people, but you do want to lead your client because you're the professional and you know the market and you can't be taking shit from people. Like you, as weird as it sounds, you can't take shit from your clients because if they're getting a bunch of uncertain, there's an appropriate amount of fear and uncertainty in a transaction, but it's your job to calm people down and be like, hey, it's going to be all right. Like I do other transactions and I've helped other people through sales too. And I get that you're stressed, but problems come up in inspections and we can work through them. Either the house works for you or it kind of doesn't, and just walk people through stuff.
Yeah, I also try to set the expectation for like first time home buyers. They get so overwhelmed during a home inspection because you're pointing out all the negative stuff, none of the positive stuff. So they leave feeling like, oh my God, did we just buy a house that's about to fall apart? Because they don't understand that. So I try to tell them, hey, just so you know, today you're gonna hear a laundry list of negatives. That's their job, is to point out negative stuff. That does not mean this house doesn't have 3 times the amount of positive stuff. So just take everything as a grain of salt. And also, some of the things that will be pointed out aren't that big a deal. You probably already live with a squeaky window at home right now. You might have a squeaky window here. It's their job to point it out. It doesn't mean this house is not worth what we offered and all that stuff. So if you kind of set that mindset too, it helps. If you say nothing and then they get this like report, they're like, oh, what's this mean? What's this mean? And they're like freaking out. And then they want to back out of the transaction because they thought they just bought a limit or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's an old house, tell them every house that you look at is gonna have an inspection report that's probably pretty similar to this. So if you're not comfortable with a report like this, then we need to identify houses that are different, like newer houses or something like that, but yeah, any other questions?
What did you find the most difficult for you?
Honestly, so for me personally, obviously a pretty young guy, age was honestly the most difficult thing, and
How old are you, Bradley?
I'm 20.
30?
I'm 20, yeah, so when I got in, yeah, I think I was actually licensed when I was 18, I
Right.
think, and then joined here when I was 19. So do people know how old I am when I'm working with them? No. Do they need to know? Probably not.
Doesn't matter if
Yeah,
you're
it-
professional.
Yeah, people, just like people aren't gonna know whether or not you're feeling successful and selling a bunch of houses, people, like, you're presenting the image that you're successful and that you know what you're doing, and you're backing it up by knowing what you're doing and being professional and adding value to people's lives once again. But yeah, that was what I struggled with the most, was overcoming being young, because right now it's a little bit better because I got a beard going, but
We joke around, he's 30.
yeah, but in the beginning, I looked even way younger, and I'd say I had to probably talk to 4 or 5 times as many people to get a lead together and to get a client than a normal aged realtor, like in their 40s or 50s, because they're gonna already assume that you've been in the industry for a decent amount of time. So
Whether you have or haven't.
exactly. So if you think that it's difficult to get clients, just be thankful that you're not super young, because I wouldn't buy a house from a realtor who was 18 or 19. So I don't blame them, but shoot, if they don't know, it's not gonna hurt them. Yeah, so that's the biggest struggle that I had to overcome and kind of deal with. But everybody is gonna have their own difficulties. So I'd say just not letting it put you down and just kick ass. Don't take shit from people.
That's gonna be like the name of your
Bleep.
You're always on your phone in your office over here. Do you do all like the smart plans and stuff too, or are you more telephone
So
oriented?
I'm definitely more telephone oriented. I prefer to talk to people on the phone pretty much over anything else. And it's more so being greedy, because I want to get as much information from people when I'm talking with them. So if it's anything that's ever risky, like, hey, what do you guys think of the inspection report? You're doing it over the phone allows you to pick up on people's vocal cues and how they're feeling, their confidence, their eagerness, if they're scared or not, and to react accordingly. Because being able to tone your voice over the phone and respond in a calming manner is huge. I mean, we're babysitting people to an extent during a certain part of the transaction when people get scared. Babysitting is probably not the right word, but I think you guys know.
No, it really
like
is.
we're hand holding people through, and on the phone you're able to pick up on that better, in my opinion. Text is nice for just simple updates. Hey, we're still doing good. Everything's on track. No need to worry. But yeah, that's my opinion on that. As far as smart plans go, that's what I've been focused on too a lot right now, is getting people on my personal plan is get people on a monthly newsletter, which is already happening. People need to be on market reports, which you can do from HomeBot, or you can do from KW Command, or you can do from Brivity or Boomtown, or 1,000 different things. But people need to be on market reports every month too, or bi-weekly if they're a hot buyer, and then making sure that they're receiving enough listings. So once you start getting a stack of buyers, it gets difficult because you've worked so hard to get these clients, to get these potential sales, that you don't want to let people go. And sometimes that means that you're not giving the appropriate amount of service to everybody. So what I've tried to work on is focusing on people who I know are kind of my A grade leads. And this goes to like basic sales, your A grade, your B grade, or your C grade. And the C people, they might buy eventually, maybe not, but you still need to at least have them in your database, and they still need to be seeing you. The B people need to be followed up with when you have time, but the A people need to be getting the appropriate amount of listings. And that's a huge time thing. And I struggle with doing monotonous tasks, which probably is also why I like being on the phone, is because I get to be a little bit more interactive. So yeah, I've been really focused on making sure I can set up accurate listing reports where they get houses that are interested to them. And I was talking with Mark about this because Mark obviously knows what he's doing. And he brought up a good point, which is oversend people listings rather than undersend people listings and tell them, hey, I'm going to be sending you listings that you're probably not going to like, but we need to figure out what you do like and what you don't like. And this way I know that you're not going to miss a listing that you potentially could have liked because I didn't send it to you. And one thing I've heard Tanya talk about before too is people are on Zillow, they're on Redfin, Realtor.com. They're probably going to see a lot of the houses before we do because we're not on our phone emotionally looking for a house to buy, and they probably are. So tell them, if you see something you like, text me about it. I'll answer any questions you have. We can go check it out, because what you don't want to happen is what I know has happened to some realtors, because I've been the person they've called, is they don't know what the steps are to do once they identify a house they like. So they call realtor.com and get connected to Opcity, and then you answer the phone. And either you end up getting pissed because they didn't know what they were supposed to do and they ended up writing with their agent instead, or that agent gets frustrated because they ended up writing with you. But is it your fault to protect the other agent if they weren't doing their job correctly? No. So it's our fault, or it's our responsibility to make sure our clients know what to do when they see a house, and make sure that they know that the relationship exists, that you are their realtor, and that if they're going to be buying a house, you kind of expect them to buy it through you. And it's not like you're being rude about it or being too upfront about it, but the expectation exists, and you're investing your time to get paid for it later.
Do you have them sign the contract then or no?
So I personally don't do buyer representation agreements.
Yeah.
I know some realtors who do. I think it really just depends on style. I'm pretty good at feeling out whether or not people are going to end up buying with me. So if I'm not confident in them, or I think that they have a realtor, gone. I'm just not going to deal with it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't do them, but I mention them to let them know like that expectation. So I say, I don't personally, like, I'm so excited to work with you, Cody. Some agents require their clients to sign like an agreement that you are gonna work exclusive with me. I don't think we need that contract in place. I trust that for some reason I'm not living up to your expectations. You're just gonna let me know. Is that fair to assume? And you're like, oh yeah, definitely, like, awesome. So I'm not gonna have you sign that, because it's just another piece of paperwork, and you're gonna sign enough things while we're out shopping.
Yeah.
And then also, while you're looking at stuff online, be careful what you click on, because I just do not want you getting signed up for all these spam emails and phone calls. So if you see a house online that you love, just send it to me and I'll send it to you, so that you don't accidentally click an email, like, so you don't accidentally sign up for a bunch of email lists or start getting spam phone calls and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's one way I try to help
Cut out
my
the-
clients not accidentally work with someone else.
Right.
And then that way they're constantly like, oh, I'll send this to shop first. And then they're kind of like on guard about it, like, oh, if I click this, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen? She mentioned,
What-
I might even start getting cold calls all the time, and nobody likes that, right? So instead, they'll just share it with me.
And if your clients are going to open houses without you, because some clients weirdly just like going to open houses, just let them know to say that they're working with somebody when they walk in, and give them a stack of cards. Then they shouldn't be signing into open house forms, in my opinion. I know other agents have different opinions, and some people want them to sign in on the COVID forms, but I tell my clients that it's fine if they don't, to just give them my card. And if they want to get the client's contact information, then they can call me. But I've had realtors ask for my clients to sign in the open house when I was walking in with them. And I've seen clients tell them no, and it's fine. I mean, they're going to probably feel kind of awkward, but it's fine.
One last thing, Bradley, before you go. You're in the office a lot, and you've been in the office since the beginning, all the way through COVID. You were here when we weren't even hearing anything. Did that play into your success, do you feel? Or why do you come in all the time?
So I think there's kind of two questions there on whether or not it's like a cause and effect, whether me being in the office causes me to like get business done, or kind of vice versa. I'd say that the reason that I'm in the office is because I feel more effective to actually stay focused, because I struggle focusing and doing monotonous tasks. But the other big side of it is being around other people who are doing business, being around the staff. Like if you need help with something and you're around the staff all the time, and you're around the other agents who work here, they're going to be a lot more willing to help you than if you only come in when you need something. And I think that just being in the atmosphere and being around real estate and just being immersed in it all the time is extremely helpful for so many aspects, whether it's knowing what's going on in the market, picking up techniques to get clients.
Yeah, like just
Listening.
even overhearing phone calls
Yeah,
that other people are on.
Yeah, listening to how other realtors communicate with their clients or what their business styles are like, how their teams are set up. Any realtor who's in here every day is going to be doing a fair amount of business, I'd say. So I'd say that says something. You're probably not, if you see a realtor in here who's been coming to work every day for a year, I'd be extremely surprised if they're not making a decent living. And so I mean, I'd say that's one way to look at it, because I just think it's impossible to not do business if you're working every day. It's my opinion.
Thank you.
And I like being around the staff here too. They're funny. But yeah, well, thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Bradley.
Yeah, if you guys ever need anything, seriously, feel free to shoot me a call or a text anytime. Yeah, so awesome. We'll have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Bradley. Appreciate it very much. Awesome. Was that helpful?
Very good.
Yeah. It's great to hear from other agents, right? I mean, we've had our top, we had Alex from the Clark Group come in and Regina, and they're very successful, and it's great hearing what they do and what they don't do. And we had them talk about writing offers, and especially during the summer when we had 50 offers on a transaction, right? From Alex. How does he as a listing agent look at an offer coming in from an agent? What did they expect and what did they want to hear? And then from Regina's side, what did she do to try to help her buyers win that offer, right? But it's nice to hear from someone he's only been here for a year and 10 months, right? And being successful. We didn't get there, but his first year, he had 6 transactions on his own. And like you said, he had 5 referrals off of it. And this year he's had 13 so far, right? And his average sales price was, we just looked it up before we came in, is $584,000. Remember when we all started, I told you the average sales price, we're gonna bring it down for new agents to 500, right? And what does 12 transactions equal in GCI?
6 million.
$100,000 in your pocket, right? When you gotta pay the IRS, but $100,000, right? So that's a decent living for a 20-year-old,
Yeah.
right?
6, you said 6 or 12?
12.
That's still not like crazy.